Hi, I'm Dr. Matea Soto. I'm a naturopathic doctor in the Los Angeles area. And in this video, I want to talk about how to heal heavy bleeding. So many women suffer with this condition, and there's not really great treatments for it. I had it. I had heavy bleeding and PMS symptoms, and I completely healed them with what I learned in naturopathic school. And so I want to teach you women out there how to heal this so you don't suffer. I just met a woman yesterday who said she bled every day for 2 years. She'd actually have to wear not just pads, but Depends. And that's just a horrible way to live. I talk to women all the time. Women who go out to dinner, they can't even get through their meal before they have to go to the bathroom and change their pad. And this is treatable. There are remedies for it. It's just most women don't know about them. So I want to teach you about what I use for myself and all my clients so you can really feel better. Because if you let this go unchecked, you become really weak and anemic. And I find a lot of people are not monitoring for the anemia. That's another concern for me. So that's the secondary thing that we have to treat. I had another mom call me and brought her daughter in. She was 12 and bled every day for 6 months. And the only things doctor offered her were the pill. And I know most moms do not want to put their daughter on the pill at age 12. So let's go. So there's always 5 things I do to heal any condition, no matter what it is. I use herbs, nutrition, essential oils. We will look at the mind-body piece of it and some type of body treatment. Because naturopathic medicine says that all conditions are caused by some deficiency and some type of toxicity. So the first thing is most women don't know that there are they're called uterine styptic herbs. They actually are herbs that slow bleeding. And the main one is yarrow and cinnamon. And so on the next chart, I'm going to show the exact herbs that I use. But until women can even order something or get something in the store, you can just take a cinnamon stick and boil it and drink it as tea. And that will start the process of slowing the bleeding. But ultimately, we definitely want to treat the cause of this. And a lot of women don't understand the cause. But the very first treatment is to get yourself some uterine styptic herbs that slow the bleeding, because that will work on right away while you work on healing the underlying condition. I love to apply essential oils topically to your abdomen during your period and even all the time, because this can start to work to help heal cramps, and it's soothing and it feels really good and it smells good. But nutritionally, there's definitely, when we look at the cause of this, the cause is usually too low of progesterone during the luteal phase or the second phase of your period. I experienced this myself. I felt really great right after my period. A lot of women feel great. They feel horrible right before they bleed. And then once they start bleeding, they feel better, but it's too heavy. And then after the period you feel great for those first maybe 2 weeks. And then once you ovulate, that's when everything goes downhill and women don't feel good because they have too little progesterone in relation to the estrogen. So the term is commonly called estrogen dominance. This can be where you have too much estrogen and too low progesterone, or you have normal estrogen and too low progesterone. But in any case, that is what usually causes all of the miserable feelings. I would go from working out, feeling happy, eating healthy, to all of a sudden, once I had ovulation, I would feel moody. I want to curl up in bed and eat cookies and chocolate. I get bloated and swollen. I want everyone to go away. I don't want to go out in the world. I have cramps and I get horrible cystic acne bumps, not bumps, zits, mountains under my chin. This is really typical of hormone problems and cramps. And it's very disheartening because I want to be productive in life. I want to be out there, and I like having momentum with my health regime, with my workouts. So I always seem to be up and down on an emotional roller coaster. And a certain amount of that is accepting that you have a period and there's a yin and yang to life, and there's a certain amount of women should be more internal, but you don't have to be in pain and be getting anemic during that process by heavy bleeding. So the whole issue with estrogen dominance is people wonder, why is this so? Part of the reason is believed to be endocrine disruption is the term, from pesticides and chemicals in the environment. So a certain amount of this is not your fault. When I had my first lymphatic treatment, the lady said, "Oh, you've been poisoned at birth." I was like, what do you mean? I grew up in one of the most worst environmental areas in the country in Buffalo, New York. We had Bethlehem Steel and we had Love Canal. This is one of the biggest Superfund toxic dump sites in the world. So we were breathing probably polluted air and getting horrible chemicals. I used to swim in Lake Erie every day and eat the fish. They probably had all kinds of chemicals in them. So, but it's definitely, I'm going to go on the next slide. What do we need to do? Changing the diet really needs to happen to heal heavy bleeding. I find that when women don't want to change and they just want to take a pill, that can help a little bit, but it doesn't really heal it. So I'm going to go over a little bit with diet. I completely healed my period without taking any supplements, medicines, or anything when I studied with Native American women who changed my whole concept about my period. So that's how I healed it. And that's my favorite way to do healing, is to change women's, I call it consciousness, your thinking pattern, your belief system, instead of thinking of it as a curse, as a blessing. When they taught me that it's the woman's most powerful and intuitive time, I was like, whoa, that really changed my whole thoughts about it, and my behaviors too. And then I always do body treatments with any illness. So for period, it's like castor oil packs and massage, lymphatic massage, and different healing treatments, aromatherapy baths, things like that. I use a lot during the period. You don't have to do all of these, but I'm just sharing with you my tools. So the first thing is to understand the styptic herbs are hemostatic, or blood slowing the flow of blood. And many of these herbs are also astringent, which is great because so many of us retain water, which is really irritating. So here's the herbs that slow bleeding. And I always sell them in a tincture form for women to take. So I use a combination formula. Sometimes I use herbs solo, but most of the time they have a synergistic effect when you combine them together. And a lot of the herbs are nutritious too, so I think of them as food. But in any case, shepherd's purse is well known for helping bleeding. Trillium, yarrow, that's a general hemostatic. Some of these are not specific to the reproductive system. Lady's mantle, partridge berry, cinnamon, and I love using witch hazel. Not the witch hazel you put on your face as an astringent you get in the drugstore. It comes actually in a tincture form, which can be taken internally. And it's so great for slowing up the bleeding process. But you can order these herbs from me. Usually we always sold them as a prescription, so you had to have a consultation. But I am coaching women in my membership site, and we are making it available for women to try this so that you can get a hold of these herbs. Because when you go to I just checked at Whole Foods yesterday and another health food store, and I couldn't find yarrow by itself. But there are different herbal companies. The best herbal companies are wildcrafters, like people who wildcraft, which means they went out into the nature and gathered the herbs instead of cultivating them. Those are my favorite. Small herbalists. Wish Garden is really great herbalist from Colorado. But if you research this, you can research these herbs. Some of them are just not as effective as teas. Tinctures are nice because you can mix them all together and you only take one thing. Teas I generally do as nutrients, and some of them don't taste good. With a tincture, you just take a quick dose. And some people complain about the taste, and I just say it's like NyQuil. Like you took NyQuil when you have a cold or flu, you don't like the taste. It's medicine. So you learn to taste the herbs. But when you take a tincture, you're just taking 30 to 60 drops. When you're drinking a whole cup of tea, some people can't tolerate the taste of it. So I just go ahead and use the tincture because it's more potent for a lot of the herbs. But this is the main thing. Now, dosage wise, you take it more frequently when you're actually bleeding. You usually, like when you're actually having your period, for 2 days, you can take 1 to 2 droppers, which is 30 to 60 drops every 2 hours during those days that you're bleeding heavy. And then you reduce it to 2 to 4 times a day. And I would say maybe max number of doses is 6, maybe up to 8. And again, this is why I coach people one-on-one. But it's very rare that you can hurt yourself with herbs. If you took too much of an herb, you'd throw up first. It doesn't really poison the body. But that's why the body's intelligent. It knows what to do with herbs. That's why I recommend essential oils be put topically, because essential oils can harm you if you take them internally. And in general, like yarrow and things like that, essential oils we apply topically. But this tincture, we start that during the period, but I also use hormone balancing herbs during the rest of the month to help stop the period as well. But if you're bleeding all month, you can take this formula like this. You don't have to use all of the herbs. You can use some of them, but you can take a uterine formula like this 2 to 4 times a day during the month if you're bleeding every day until you stop and you start to normalize your cycle. The hormone balancing herbs that we use during the rest of the month are Vitex, motherwort. Some of those are blue cohosh and black cohosh. Some of those are my favorite herbs for hormone balancing. Vitex is the most popular one. That's a really favorite herb for me. But you take those. But if herbs don't work, the best thing to do is actually get tested for your hormones. I use saliva testing a lot because it's more sensitive to the biologically active part of the hormone instead of using blood tests. And this is really nice because we can just mail you a hormone test kit. You collect saliva samples and then you send it in and you can see how low your progesterone is. One thing you can also do is in the health stores now, they have progesterone creams. They're just at a lower dose than what we give as prescriptions. You can actually start doing that right after the second half of your cycle up to your period. So we do that during that time where progesterone should be higher. Sometimes that right away stops bleeding. Now, for some women, the progesterone creams, they don't react well to it. Initially, I didn't like the way I felt in it. Some women have swelling and moodiness and it doesn't work. Other women, it works amazing for. But if the bleeding is really heavy, herbs can take 2 to 3 whole cycles to work for women. So sometimes a progesterone cream works faster, and for someone it's great. On a prescription level, a lot of times we'll start with 50 milligrams, and the countertop stuff is maybe 10 milligrams. But you can go ahead and get that and try it to stop the bleeding. But some women are so resigned to it, they just accept it. And I'm like, no, you need to try something and get it to stop, because right away you're going to feel more energy, less moody, less depleted, and less anemic. And the other thing I want to say is that you really need to be monitoring yourself by getting a CBC done, your iron and ferritin levels, and a whole iron panel is ideal. But I mean, you should have a full hormone workup. But if you know that this is things are out of balance, we know the progesterone's low, and you've tested your estrogen, you should be getting these iron and CBC done every 3 months to monitor yourself for anemia and to go on a supplementation program to replenish that low iron levels. So that I coach people on in my membership site and give a lot more detail. But that's just something to put out there, is that so many women that come to me for a consultation have not even had a proper blood workup and testing to know where they stand. We're just taught to take Midol, take a painkiller, and take the pill, and that's it, which is just so limiting. And when you think about it, what is the pill? It's synthetic estrogen. So here you are suffering with either too much estrogen or normal estrogen and too low progesterone, which is a real problem. And what are we given? The pill. It's not a solution and it's not healing. But this is how you heal the body: through food, through herbs and plant medicines, through nurturing yourself and healing your emotions too. So let's go over the diet. One thing I see is that women who have heavy bleeding, a real common trend is that they don't eat vegetables and don't like vegetables, and definitely don't eat enough green vegetables. An interesting story I had was I had a woman who was postmenopausal bleeding, very heavy, extremely heavy, where she couldn't even go out and do things. It was so difficult. She would actually saturate a pad and stain her clothes just sitting through a dinner. And she was given every test and workup possible, because the main risk at once you're in menopause is they believe it's a cancer. And she was found to have no cancer whatsoever, and no one could help her. And when I met with her, her friends sent her to me and said, like, she has the most horrible diet. Like, all she lives on is sugar. And it's so mind-blowing to me that people actually do this for decades and don't think that they're going to suffer a health problem. But what was interesting about the story was she didn't really want to change her lifestyle, but her friend got her to. So for about a month, we got her to eat vegetables. And just by eating vegetables and cutting down on the sugar, she didn't eliminate it, the bleeding reduced and where it was livable. It didn't go completely away because she simply wasn't interested in changing and wasn't consistent with taking the supplements. But that to me, I was like, wait a second. It was like the sugar was disintegrating her body. Like if you're not eating enough of what builds it and you're eating something that disintegrates it, she was just literally just weak and not able to maintain the cellular matrix of her body. So it's something so obvious, but the first thing you got to do is just increase your vegetables. That fiber, the nutrients, and everything strengthens you, and it strengthens the uterus. It strengthens your tissues, and that alone can reduce your bleeding. I used to focus on what we need to take away from the body because for years I always saw that women who bled a lot really loved cheese and red meat and dairy products. And the problem with that is that pesticides up concentrate in animal products. So cows eat grass that is sprayed with pesticides, or they eat corn or whatever feed they have that's sprayed with pesticides, and it concentrates in their fat. So then when you eat milk, which is high in fat, and cheese, and the meat products from conventional meats, they're also given hormone shots and antibiotics to make them yield more milk and give fatter, more weight to them to make better meat. So we're getting bombarded with pesticides. It's disrupting our estrogen, and then it's also believed that pesticides stimulate estrogen receptors. So they mess with your hormones. The simple way that I'm going to say it. But in any case, the 12-year-old that I saw that was bleeding every day, she ate red meat every day. Every day. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, I was taught variety is really important for nutrition. So I try to get people to have, if they eat meat, to have red meat once a week, turkey, fish, chicken, rotate your foods. But the first thing I do is have people eliminate for a period of time or cut down if you can on red meat, dairy, milk, and cheese. A little bit of yogurt is fine. But I also, as a common trend, every woman that I've seen that bled heavily was really addicted to sugar and they ate fried foods. So, whatever you can do. I mean, most people are addicted to something and it's hard to change their diet. Sometimes you don't want to, and then sometimes when you do want to, you uncover an addiction, and then that's what we should treat is how can you learn to comfort yourself? How can we learn to heal your brain chemistry and any hormone or mineral imbalance that's causing the cravings? Because cravings sometimes are just your serotonin is low or you're mineral deficient, and that's so easy to be healed. You just take a few trace minerals and you can take some nutrients to help your serotonin level. It's very easy to balance that out. But one also thing that helps is if you have organic hormone-free meats, that will help your body, that will help reduce the bleeding. And that's the overall, that's why I said that meats up concentrate pesticides. So that's the overall program. I mean, my general recommendation is that people have 1 green juice a day, 1 to 2 salads a day, and 2 to 4 cups of steamed vegetables. And then try to eat fresh, whole foods, locally organic. So brown rice, and limited amount of fruits. Most people and humans eat too much sugar, and they have candida problems. So fruit, don't want to overdo it. So I just do I recommend 1 to 4 servings of fruit a day, but more vegetables than fruits. Okay, so what was I going to say? Let me go back to the main photo. We might need to pause this for a second. But I want you guys to call me, email me, send me questions, but take it on yourself on a mission to get this bleeding to slow down so that you feel better. Aromatherapy, I'm going to save that for later. But now I just want to talk about, okay. Well, I want to slice this so we can use it in 2 segments because it'll be too long of a video. But actually, I need to make a closing for that video. So summary, like a ending to that, an ending point. Okay. You don't want me to? Can I do it right now? Okay. Okay. So this is the overall picture of what it looks like to heal heavy bleeding, and this is stuff you can do at home. You can go to the health food store and get progesterone cream. You can get some uterine styptic herbs that slow bleeding. If you want a capsule one, there's one called Slow the Flow. I love that name. It's so great. It's by Tori Hudson, and Botanic is the name of the company. You can get that. It is prescription. You can get it from our office. You can get it from your practitioner. But get some herbs that will slow your bleeding. I have a herbal formula that we use to put on your abdomen that's soothing, that helps balance hormones. Work on your diet and be on a general supplement regime that can help you. And I want to go into this in more depth with you. So the best thing to do would be to join my membership site as a premier member or on my VIP program, where I'm going to coach you one-on-one on much more detail how to implement this, what supplements to take, what doses, what to do for your body treatments and the essential oils. We're going to go deep dive into those issues in my membership site. And so this is just to give you a taste and to inspire you, to encourage you to hold the vision that you can heal this. Hear from other women like myself, and other women in the forum will probably share that how they've healed themselves. It really feels amazing to get your period, to feel excited, to feel happy, to just need a little more rest and feel creative and intuitive, and to not have the bleeding disrupt your life and make you feel miserable and make you weak. And so I want you to experience this, and I want you to work on this. But so I want to give you this overview, get started, send us a question, and I'll answer it in more detail and get back to you. And you can work with me and to help heal this so you can feel amazing and feel good. Okay, good. So now